Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce you to Melanie Benson. Melanie is an optimizer, and she has a gift for guiding fast-paced, mission-driven entrepreneurs to thrive in their small business. Melanie is a revenue strategist, uncovering what derails you from productivity and progress, ultimately freeing you to scale your influence and your income without overwhelm. Melanie is the author of Rewired for Wealth, co-author of Entrepreneur.com's Startup Guide to Starting an Information Marketing Business, and she has her success tips featured in magazines such as American Express, Open Forum, Bloomberg BusinessWeek, Woman's Day, Parenting Magazine, and University of Phoenix Alumni Magazine. She's on the executive team for the Women Speakers Association, as well as is the council chair for the Association of Transformational Leaders. Melanie is a proud lifestyle enthusiast and spends her free time in search of the best spas and beaches in the world. Welcome, Melanie.
Thanks for having me, Tammy. It's such a pleasure, and I'm excited for today.
Good. That is exciting. I like that you spend your free time looking at spas and beaches. That sounds like a good pastime. Tell me about mindset and how mindset is such a big factor in someone's level of success.
Well, this is a question I get a lot, Tammy, because we all hear this common quote, you might say, or this common advice that mindset is 90% of success. And a lot of people say, really? I mean, come on, what about marketing? If you can't sell, you're not successful. Well, here's why people say that. And I've actually proven this true. And in the work I do with my clients through Money DNA, I've seen this happen, is that your mindset, which is a collection of thoughts and beliefs and ideas and values that we hold in our internal processing, where we make our decisions. And that collection of thoughts and ideas is our mindset, and it becomes a filter for how we view the world, how we see opportunities, what decisions we make or don't make. And so you can imagine that if your mindset is not necessarily operating at a high level, let's say you've got the mindset of a struggler or someone who only sees themselves as a creative, and you don't necessarily embrace being successful in business, or you haven't adopted the mindset of being a confident salesperson, or that you're good at marketing, you're not going to do those activities. You're going to resist them. You're going to probably even tell yourself you're really bad at things, like I'm really bad at math, or I'm really bad at finances. And then you live into that. You prove that to yourself and to the world around you. So your mindset is actually dictating what level of success that you will achieve, whether you consciously are aware of it or not. And it's one of the reasons why for many years, in fact, 15 years, I've been coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs, thought leaders, visionaries of all kinds, people who want to do transformation work. And I was finding, Tammy, that a lot of people wouldn't take action. Like, I'd build them this really awesome 7-figure business model that I knew would make them money, that would get them up there as an influencer and really help them achieve their life goals and dreams. And they wouldn't take action. And I finally started to teach about mindset as an integral part of my programs, because I realized that if you don't have the mindset of someone who is a high performer and sees themselves as a successful business owner doing the work that you do, you will not take the right actions, and you will continue to play it small and safe and struggle, whether it's financially or just with feeling fulfilled with your life's work.
I think you're really, really onto something, because one of the things that I have found with people in mindset, and I'm guilty, I'm one of those people who has always been a little bit math challenged. So guess what? I avoid things that have to do with numbers. So I really get that. And I see people in my own coaching and in my own business, when I talk to people about mindset, their eyes kind of roll back in their head like, oh no, I don't want to talk about mindset. And it's like there's a resistance to that. But what is the reason why people are so resistant to making those vital changes in how they think? And what would you say is the biggest reason behind the chronic failures related to being successful?
Okay, well, this is a little bit of a challenging question to answer, and I'll tell you why. And it's because it's very, the reason why people struggle and why they have these chronic failure patterns or do things that they know are not effective, but they do them anyway. It's very individual and unique in the sense that each and every person is running a blueprint. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, if I was going to pick a generic reason, it's because the program that you run, like we all kind of have something that's like a software program in our mind that's operating all the time. And you can recognize the quality of this program based on your internal dialogue. Do you run your list of all the stupid things that you did every day? Or are you like patting yourself on the back going, yeah, that was awesome. You did a great job today. Come on, let's be honest. Most of us are chronically running through all of the failures and the disappointments and the things we screwed up. And we're more focused on our failures and what we haven't accomplished than congratulating ourselves and really being in the gratitude of what we have accomplished. And so what happens is we kind of shift our energy in our body all day long, because when your mind is constantly surfacing all of the problems and challenges and failures and fears and concerns and worries and, that dialogue that we all have, and that's what is going through your brain, guess what? You start to constrict and you start to feel less capable, and then you buy into it, and then you stop taking actions that will actually get you the results you want. And many people, and I have this happen a lot for the entrepreneurs and professionals who come into my Money DNA program, one of the first things out of their mouth is like, Melanie, like, I'm not even sure I can complete this program. I'm so not in a place where I take good actions anymore. I've developed these procrastination patterns, and I'm constantly telling myself all the things that I can't do right. And what is it? Here's what it is, Tammy. We are running the conditions that we grew up with as adults. It's that simple. And people might go, oh my gosh, I don't really want to have therapy in my business. But truthfully, most of us need a tune-up in our mind, because we're stuck in these patterns where a wound or a painful experience happened that defined who we are as successful beings. And it's amazing. Now, not everybody, but it's amazing the number of people, and I would say 75 to 80% of the entrepreneurs I've worked with, which is a lot, on some level are holding themselves back because of messages they were given through parents and culture and community and influential people in their life as children. We hold on to them. We kind of imprint them into our beingness. And if they're repeated, they become our truth. And then we operate from that from the rest of our lives. Now, I'm giving you the simple definition. Right. I'll give a little resource later if it's okay to share with people where they better understand this cycle, because once you understand the cycle, you can break it and you can recode your mindset for higher levels of success. But that's why people do sabotaging behaviors, why they struggle, why they make bad decisions over and over and over again, where they're like, I'm a smart person. Why am I doing this? It's our pattern.
I know from listening to what you're saying, growing up, I always heard we can't afford it. And I always heard money doesn't grow on trees. Right. And two
very popular ones, by the way.
And we always had to sell something we had in order to get money to go on a trip or something. It was like, oh, well, if you want to go to Disneyland, then you have to sell something you have in order to get the money to do it, because I guess it was because my parents didn't feel they had the money to just say, here, do chores. So it was like sell something in order to get money. So you were talking a lot about these ingrained thoughts. So how does our subconscious mind affect these actions that we take?
Yeah. So first of all, let me just say, I also grew up with really ineffective programming around money. Like we learned struggle. We learned how to use money for power, right? Like there was a lot of unconscious patterns I picked up around money. And that translated to let's but do a bunch of stupid stuff that doesn't get anywhere and struggle around money over and over and over again. Let's live in debt. Like there were these great lessons I was taught as a young person without having all of the context, which literally set me up to not believe I was good with money. And so one of the things that has to happen is we have to look at how is our subconscious mind proving and living out this belief system and this, what I like to call a blueprint, and causing us to maybe play much smaller game than we're capable of. So our subconscious mind, and this is a little bit complicated to explain in this environment, but I'll do my best, is our subconscious mind operates like it's like an autopilot. So whatever our core beliefs are, it's going to go into action and literally just do what we tell it. And so what we believe at the core, the core vibration we hold around money, success, this even, extends out into relationships and health, pretty much any area of our life. Whatever we believe at the core is what our subconscious mind is taking action from. So you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to make a six-figure business. I'm capable of having a great sales conversation. But if your true belief, because that's the program you're running and it's gotten it's kind of like it gets imprinted in your DNA, then you're going to take actions from the subconscious place, which is programmed to do the things that don't make you a successful salesperson. So here's an example how that works. Even though logically, we all know that being good at sales is the key to making money, right? Like if you can't sell something, nobody's going to give you money. So you know this, but deep down inside, you don't believe you're worthy. Like you've run that program your whole life and you question, am I ever going to be good at this? Oh my gosh, my last 7 attempts failed. Okay, who's going to spend money or who's going to invest money in somebody that doesn't, feel like they're good at something? So now your doubts are always running in the background, in the subconscious mind. And so when you go to have a sales opportunity, you'll forget, or you just won't follow up with that person, or you just don't quite put your offer together in a way that's confident because you're not really. And so you kind of bungle it and the person goes, yeah, no thanks. So we kind of prove out that undercurrent of the belief, even though logically and the world around us will keep, telling us, hey, you got to be good at sales. If you don't really believe you're worthy, if you don't believe you're good at sales, if you don't believe that, people will invest in you, you will always take action to support that belief. And it's often going on in your blind spot. Here's what's so interesting. When I started my business, Tammy, okay, I'm going to kind of pull back the curtains and go a little vulnerable here for a minute because I think it'll help people, is that when I first started my business, I didn't even value money. I actually thought, if I focus on money, people are never going to want to work with me. That's not worthy. That's actually not spiritually valuable. So I had all this convoluted stuff about making money valuable. And so I didn't even have it on my list of what I valued. And so I would avoid sales conversations. I made up all this stuff about people who are pushy salespeople are awful. And, I had a plethora of reasons why I couldn't be good at sales. I actually turned down sales jobs. And then all of a sudden I realized because I don't value the process of making money and I've made it bad on some level, I'm repelling money. And at this point in my journey, Tammy, I was making $1,000 a month as a coach. I was struggling so hard to figure out the answers. And it was illuminated to me when I was working with my first money mindset mentor. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I'm not even making it a valuable part of business. No wonder I don't have any of it. Wow. And that allowed me to shift my programming and start to go through my 4-step process of really shifting my money DNA and between that day that I had that thought and that awakening, if you will, of what the process is of having a strong money DNA, and 9 months later, I broke six figures for the first time, simply because I upgraded the way my internal programming was working.
Wow, that's really powerful. And every single thing you're saying, I can actually relate to because I think one of the major breakthroughs I had, because I used to be terrified to speak in front of people. I mean, practicing in front of the mirror, I would shake, my teeth would chatter, and I couldn't even get words out without it, literally shaking and everything. And my mental attitude or subconscious thing was, who would ever listen to me?
Yes.
And think about that. If you are thinking that nobody would ever listen to you, you do not speak. And when I overcame that, of course, now it's very difficult to shut me up, but this is really fascinating. And I think our listeners are probably taking copious notes by now, because what you're saying, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, this is their issue, and they're not looking at it as a mindset issue. They're looking at this as, oh, I don't have the right product. I don't have the right package. I'm not selling it right, when in fact, they probably have the right product, they probably have the right package, but they're not believing that they deserve to get paid for that knowledge. And I think a lot of heart-centered people who are in healing or spiritual, or maybe even women in general, seem to have this issue about getting paid and getting paid what you're worth. I'm really interested in you telling me more about the money DNA blueprint. And you talked about your, the four pillars or the four paths.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Would it be okay with you? I talked about some barriers first, because this is what the question that I get asked a lot is, so how do I know if I have these barriers to money? And I like to cover these because there's a couple of them that people actually don't realize are barriers. And it taps in exactly to what you were just saying. So the first one is fear. And we all recognize that fear is a barrier, but most people don't understand fear. They think if they're in fear, that one of two things is happening. Either it's old patterning and I just got to shut up that part of my mind and just, push through it and, not let fear hold me back. Or they think fear means stop. That's actually not fear. Fear is our logical, rational mind surfacing to say, I don't have enough information to make this decision. Oh. And fear will oftentimes show up as a pattern where we procrastinate and, we come up with this very elaborate, complicated way to hold back from doing something. But really, fear is just a lack of information. And the part of us that wants to be safe, because we do have this thing called the prime directive, which is always trying to keep us safe, it says we're in fear. Let's do what we do when we do fear, whatever that pattern is for you. And instead of doing what you always have done to get you the results you're getting now, what if you stopped and said, okay, so I need more information. Is this something that's out of alignment? Do I just need more information? I'm lacking clarity. This is actually a horrible decision for me. And my smart intuition is kicking in. Like, you got to dig in a little bit and understand what fear is actually trying to say, because fear will often disguise itself as our logical, practical mind and come up with this very compelling and logical reason why something shouldn't work. You have to recognize when fear is actually holding you back because it's disguising itself. So I just want to say a little bit about fear. I can talk more about that later if you have more questions, but fear is oftentimes very misunderstood and it causes us to run patterns. But there's actually two more things that people don't understand. And the second one is our limitation story. Okay, it's a twist on beliefs. And what many of us do is we have developed this really well-rehearsed story about why we don't have what we want, or why we don't qualify for it, or we're not capable of it, or we're not built for it, or it's not, aligned for us. And really what it is you've bought into your low-level limitations, the conditions that you were you developed as a child to cope with whatever challenges you had. And instead of focusing on what you want, you have really bought into the story that you can't have it. And now you've designed an elaborate scheme to keep yourself stuck there. And limited stories are actually very easy to break out of. You just have to recognize this is just a story. And if you can make up a story to limit yourself, you can certainly make up a story to create massive success. You've just been choosing the one that's more comfortable up to now. So it's just a different way to look at the way we tell people and what we tell ourselves about why we don't have what we want. And then the third one, Tammy, a lot of people don't even realize is happening. And that's what I like to call conflict. It's like an internal war. And oftentimes, this is the primary reason that an entrepreneur is in procrastination or isn't able to take the action that they say they want. And that's because a part of your goal or your dream or the thing you're going for feels in conflict with something else that you value. So one of the ways this shows up a lot is, and this happens all the time to the entrepreneurs that I work with who want to grow, they want to make more money, they want to maybe expand their impact, but the way they're doing it right now won't work. So they go into this place where they're like, well, if I do this thing that I know now to grow my business, it's going to take away my freedom, or it's going to, cause me to not be available for my children, or it's whatever, you are making up is the reason. And what's happening is that your blueprint is too small to see the possibility to achieve the goal. So you're trying to accomplish more through the strategies that got you stuck where you are today, and it won't work. So conflict basically means you need a bigger blueprint so that you can expand your vision of what's possible and achieve the thing you want through different strategies.
Wow. I hate to admit it, but it's like you've been inside my little mind going, okay, Tammy, what are your issues? And you've nailed several of those.
I've had a lot of practice working with this.
You said the common success barriers again were fear,
limitation story,
okay,
conflict,
and fears, limitation story, and conflict. And I imagine there are even more than that, but those are some basics that you cover. So, wow, that is quite a heavy burden that we carry.
and of course you don't want to take action when it feels so heavy, right?
Right.
And you asked earlier about the blueprints.
Uh-huh.
This is a great time to talk about them because a blueprint is actually the model of the world that's been imprinted into us. And I say imprinted, it's kind of like whatever we've grown up and kind of conditioned our mind to see as our reality, that's our blueprint. And it's a collection of our thoughts and beliefs, our mindset, the actions we take, and the strategies that we've developed to achieve what we want. And so when somebody's operating from an ineffective blueprint, a money DNA blueprint, they're actually creating a groove in the world that's stuck at that particular mode. And I'll tell you what the blueprints are in a minute, because they're not meant to be a label. They're meant to be a guide to say, if this isn't what you want, there is a way to get what you do want. So I have 7 that I found, and some people think that they see themselves in multiple ones. I'm just going to cover them real quick. One is the avoider. I think that's pretty obvious. People who avoid dealing with money and dealing with the financials of life. 2 is called the under-earner, and these are people who develop a pattern of undercharging because they don't value themselves, and they're constantly working 10 times harder to try and compensate for that under-earning pattern. 3 is a monk. A lot of heart-based healers, supporters fall into the monk, where they've really been coming from this place where money's bad, or money should not be worthy. Money shouldn't be my focus. And if I focus on money, that people are going to be turned off by that. So they actually kind of shoot themselves in the foot because they never have any money because they don't value it. I definitely had that one going on for myself. Number 4 is the busy addict. And the busy addict is something a lot of people in the entrepreneurial communities relate to, because you literally keep yourself busy all the time because you have mistakenly created this concept that successful people are busy instead of successful people are productive. So you may or may not be accomplishing anything. You're just busy all the time. And it comes from a hard work value system. Number 5 is the overspender. Now, this is an interesting one because overspenders create the illusion that they have money. They don't. They just spend money to make themselves feel better and to really fit in the world that they want to be in. And this is somebody who is constantly in debt, not healthy debt, because there is healthy debt. They basically just throw money out there in the world trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they really have a low sense of self and self-worth. So it's a very complicated place to be because the very thing that they want is the identity of being seen as wealthy, and they've created the exact opposite through their patterns. Number 6 is a hoarder. Now, a hoarder is not one of the more common ones, but when you're in a hoarder mode, this is really a fascinating experience for you because you actually know how to make money and you can create a lot of it. But because you are afraid that you will lose all your money, you hoard it and you stop the flow of prosperity in your life. So you actually operate as if you're broke all the time, which is very difficult for you to expand wealth when you're hoarding. And it's not the same as saving. It's a very different strategy. One is very purposeful and it comes from a place of prosperity. The other is a place of fear and constriction, which literally makes you feel broke. So very different mentalities. Now, the last one, Tammy, and I know I'm going through these fast, and if you want to dig deeper into them, I will share something that will help you better understand where you fit. But the 7th one is the one that I personally have felt is the most positive blueprint out there around money. And it's very expansive. And I call it the Thriver blueprint. And the Thriver blueprint is the one where we're just expansive with money and success. And our mindset has been tuned into the level of success that is most exciting for us. And we've just, learned how to program our mind to kind of put that on autopilot. So Thrivers tend to be expansive, very positive, and it's kind of like they have that feeling like if I touch something, it turns to gold. That's a Thriver. So I know really fast, I went through them, but that should give you a little bit of a first spark of, oh yeah, I see myself as this or I see myself as that, which can start to help you understand what do you want and is where you're at now getting you the results that you deserve.
Well, I absolutely can, as you went through those, and I'm going, uh-oh. And of course, when you got to the positive one, I said, that's the one I want. How can you start to upgrade your DNA money blueprint, money DNA print? Yeah,
the money DNA blueprint.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a tongue twister there. If you can say it, you can have it, right? So this is what I had to do. And let me just be really clear that when I first started to shift my blueprint, I did the first step, but I didn't do the other steps. And so what I did is I created a 7-figure business that was very unstable. So I later learned, we need 4 steps here. And those 4 steps together are like the legs of a table, which keeps you grounded and powerfully able to grow up instead of, wobbly and uncertain and in a fearful place. So I created this over time from my own experience. And the first step, there's 4. The first step is recognizing that you do have old programming, that there is value in getting your mindset to be in a better place so that you can achieve more. And the first step is literally identifying what mindset you do want to achieve and what's in the way of it. So sometimes that means we got to go back in and really look at the beliefs and where they came from. Sometimes just simply recognizing what belief system you do need to adopt. So one of the first things I did was I recognized I'm operating in struggle mode all the time. I'm an avoider. I'm massively in monk mode. I have not been valuing money. And so I recognized that I wanted to adopt the mindset of a thriving 6-figure business owner. And so I had to look at the beliefs that were holding me back and upgrade them. So step 1 in this process and step 2 is get rid of the old programming. For some people, they need help so they don't, like a rubber band, keep kind of popping back into the old beliefs. You literally have to dissolve them. And I teach a program in money or process in Money DNA where I teach your mind how to dissolve the hold that old issue, that old wound or that old fear has over you, so that you can replace it in step 2 with a more effective program. See, once you get rid of the old programming, you have to replace it with something, because it's like a vacuum. And if you just take out the old and you don't put something better and more effective in place, you'll just replace it with the patterns that you already have. So you have to install, I look at it as like an installation, a new success program, like you would in a computer. But since our minds are really sophisticated, we have to reinforce it. And that's where we put in step 3, which is a new set of habits and strategies that are aligned with your success. Because here's what happens, Tammy. So you go through this amazing process, right? Okay, here's the things that have been holding you back. I now understand those fears are just bunk, and they don't really have any power over me. You do the process to recode, and you realize that you are a valuable asset on this planet, and you're a rock star, and you're going to own that role. And now you're churning along, and you haven't done step number 3, which is installing a new environment and habits and strategies. Guess what? All of a sudden your power starts to slow you down, and you start getting into conversations with all those old familiar people who are living in their doubts and fears, and they start to throw stones at your excitement. And for a while you're like, no, I'm not going to let them get me down. And you keep trucking and you keep trucking. And then all of a sudden you're right back where you were, because the energy and momentum trying to do it alone without your new blueprint can't sustain itself. And that's what happened to me, is I realized that even though I had a lot of amazing people around me, I was still having too many old consciousness, old programming conditions in my life. And so I backslid and started adopting all those fears and limiting stories again. And I started to let that old paradigm of myself take me back down into the muck. And so when I installed a new blueprint, as I recoded through later in 2009, I realized that I needed a whole new set of, like, I needed a mastermind, I needed a higher impact coach, I needed to have a daily practice that wasn't allowing junk into my mind and feeding me negativity. And one of the biggest ones, Tammy, and I know everyone can relate to this, is guess what was happening in 2009? Nobody had any money. Everybody was in a credit crisis, right? Well, there were people who were thriving through that process. And then there were people who were struggling. I didn't understand that when you're surrounding yourself with people who have bought into the struggle and they're focused on the struggle, you will match their vibration. And I went right down the tank with them. I let the struggle story be bigger than the thrive story. And so I literally got that I can control the conversation in my mind. I had to tune into a new frequency. I had to surround myself with people who bought into the thriving. And I changed the condition. I changed the environment. I changed the patterns, and I changed my outcomes. But the people around us were still struggling with money. I changed my relationship to it. And that's what thrivers do. And so that's what leads us to step 4. Is you have to also up-level the business blueprint. You have to up-level the model of what you put into action so that you can thrive and you can stop being a busy addict or an under-earner, because you're choosing business models that cannot function and put money in your pocket automatically. So sometimes we have to change what we focus on. And I can give you an example of what that means, Tammy, if you want me to go a little deeper with that, but I also want to be sensitive to time. So you tell me where we're at.
Yeah, I would love it if you would give me some examples, because as you're talking, I'm trying to imagine the flow of how all this would work and how much time it would take, and how do you stay on the track. So some examples would be great.
Sure. So all right. So let's say, well, you know my story. The first time around was 9 months. Second time around was 3 months. Literally took me 3 months to turn things around from the moment I did the recoding process again. And some people do it in a week. It's just simply you get that little flip and you're like, yeah, okay, I know exactly what to do. You can just flip a switch in your mind that's been in the wrong groove. But let's say, okay, so I'll give you an example of somebody I was working with last week. This was somebody who her blueprint is being a busy addict. She's definitely a busy addict, always got way too much going on. And so one of the business models that she was trying to put into action to exponentially grow income was actually causing her to be busy, more busy, way too busy. And this was a business model that was producing very little income. And so she's looking at this is what I was told I was supposed to do from somebody she was working with before. And I'm supposed to put this in action. I put so much money into it. And so what I was looking at with her is like, if you want to be a thriver, what's the fastest path to exponentially growing income? And she was sharing with me all her revenue generating activity. And so the blueprint, the business blueprint, was right under her nose. But because her mind was locked into busy addiction, and she operated from this, like, I just got to get more done. I got to get more done. I got to get more activity. I got to sell more. She didn't realize that the answer was right in front of her. So the minute we flip the switch, and took the old programming out, we put the new thriving model in, created the new belief system. I helped her look at her habits and her strategies of, look, you're busy all the time. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to put more leverage in. She saw that she had a really fast way to get from 400,000 to 7 figures simply by stopping the thing that was so busy making and selling more of something she was already selling, but just raising the price a little bit more so that she could work less and triple her income within a very short period of time. That's what I mean when you have a shift in your mindset. You change the way you operate. You recognize that what you're doing isn't effective, and you're open to something better.
So where would the person who's always trying to learn how to do stuff fall? You know, the people who are always educating themselves, or they never get started because it's not perfect. Where did they fit into this?
Okay, well, they could be an avoider. They could be under the busy addiction. It also could be in the under earner. So I'd have to ask them, what is the reason why you feel like you have to learn it and do it yourself? Is it because you feel like you don't have the financial bandwidth to invest in people? Are you you're just so, like, you've programmed yourself to believe you have to work more to get more? Like, what do you think the core would be behind that?
Well, I know I'm thinking about people, you know, they have the shiny object syndrome, and they'll just keep buying all these products when in fact, if they would just stop and focus on one thing. My big thing is focus. It is like,
it's a busy addiction piece.
Okay. Oh, that's what that is. It's
usually if you got focus. A lot going on and you're like this, like, I need another thing. And it's tied into this belief that I have to work more to make more, which turns us into busy machines. When really what it is you need to actually optimize the things you have and make them perform better. Right. Which is what thrivers do, is they figured out it's not about more, it's about how well each piece performs. And really looking at, how do I make what I have more profitable instead of how do I add more things that might add a little bit of revenue.
So I think you mentioned that you have some resources available so people can find out a little bit more about this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So a really, really simple next step that I would love to share with everybody, it's free, is I wrote a downloadable guidebook called Rewired for Wealth, and you can get it at rewiredforwealth.com. And why I want you to get that book is I go deeper into how our subconscious mind really works and what messages we're giving it and how to change the messages. And I'll go a little bit more into the blueprints, helping you understand which blueprint you are operating from. Because once you start to understand which blueprint you're operating from, you can say, okay, am I in avoider mode right now, or am I in thriver mode right now? And it really helps us become more self-aware, which is a big part of the puzzle. And then I'll also walk you through some more in-depth elements of what mindset you do need to adopt if you want to thrive in business, which I think was a real illumination for me and a lot of the clients and people who've gotten the book over the year or two since I've released it is when you understand how thrivers think, you can immediately recognize when you're not in thriver mode. And you get to say, wow, okay, what's going on with my mindset right now? So I highly recommend, if nothing else, you start with that. But if you are really understanding right now that you want to get the Money DNA program, you can actually go to money-dna.com. And the Money DNA program is outlined for you there, and you can just jump right in and take the program if you'd like.
So it's money-dna.com.
Yep, you got it.
Well, one of the things that just keeps jumping out at me as you've been speaking is how vital this mindset piece really is, and how the concept of money, because if you're an entrepreneur, why are you an entrepreneur? It is about having a lifestyle and being able to be anywhere that you would like to be, and to be able to have a better life. So what is it about what you've put together that makes it so powerful? It just seems like it's a very powerful program.
Well, I have a unique eclectic background in the sense that I came out of corporate America. I spent 15 years in corporate America. And so I understand successful business. And I was successful in business there. I just didn't like being on the road, 300 days a year. And, I had another vision for my life. I wanted a lot more freedom in my life. And I also understand what the psychology of success is. I've been studying mindset and law of attraction since I was a child. I grew up with Raymond Hollowell. So if you're familiar with Bob Proctor and The Secret, that movie, Raymond Hollowell was Bob Proctor's original mindset mentor. And I grew up also studying him, although I did not have any concept of the power of that. And then when I learned as an adult how to use neurolinguistic programming, which is essentially, it's our ability to teach the mind, the neurons in the mind, how to fire a more effective path. See, what most people don't understand is your mind is in a conditioned state, so that when something happens, when something triggers, your mind is conditioned to respond to it in a certain way. That's why most people never break their patterns. That's why you don't get out of resistance, why you want something, you need to do it differently, and you don't. It's because your mind is in a conditioned pattern. And even knowing that it takes 21 days to build a new habit isn't enough, because you can backslide when the original wound or pain or belief system, wherever it came from, if that's not reconditioned, if you don't recode that, you will always fall back to it. It will always be your guide for success. So I developed a process using a combination of tools to actually go in and eradicate the hold that original issue, that original event has over you, so that you can put a new program in and it will stick and it won't let you backslide, because you condition it and you make it a real part of you anchor it in today with the third and fourth steps of the reconditioning process. So that's what makes it so different.
Wow, that is just really phenomenal. So you told us that we can go get a free book called Rewired for Wealth at rewiredforwealth.com. We can go check out your Money DNA Mastery Program, and that's money-dna.com.
Correct.
Do you have any other places where we can find out more about you?
Well, you're always welcome to come join me on my Facebook page at melaniebensonstrick.com. Yes, Strick is on the end of it right now. That was my old married name. So Facebook just won't let you get rid of it, but melaniebensonstrick.com. And I'm always sharing little tidbits and quotes and resources there. I'd love to have you come join me. Come say hi there and let me know that you found me on today's show. And I would absolutely love to make sure you get the book. It's a great way to get into it. I'll share other resources with you along the way. And I think you'll find that the Money DNA program is one of the most powerful investments that you might make in yourself if you're inspired to do this work and up-level your way of being. I like to think it like this, Tammy. We're operating on this planet in autopilot, and many of us just get into this routine of how we do things. So how you do things is actually getting you what you have right now. And if what you have right now isn't what you want, and or you'd like to get to your goals in a more sustainable and thriving approach. So you don't feel like you're struggling all the time. You don't feel overworked all the time. You don't feel overwhelmed all the time. And you actually get to enjoy some of your life. You've got to figure out a new way to get there, because we can't get new results with old patterns. And that's what's possible when we do the Money DNA recoding process together. I am there as your guide through the process, and it takes 90 days to go through the process if you're wondering how it works. And I meet with you once a month in our group. The group is extraordinary. We have a combination of new people, and a lot of people stay. A lot of people stay in as graduates and keep doing the work and staying in the conversation because they found that's an environment that helps them thrive. So that's a big part of it. And I've also got some other little goodies for you when you enroll. You'll get to meet with me once during the time, one-on-one. We have some additional bonus resources, like some visualizations and some audio programs and different things that I've created to help you as you're working on this in your day-to-day environment to really keep helping you bring your mindset up to the next level.
Wow. Wow is the best word for everything that you've just said, because it's so powerful. I really want to thank you for taking the time with us today, and I am going to make sure that everyone knows where to find the Rewired for Wealth book and the Money-DNA Mastery, because I think that you have hit on something that for a large majority of entrepreneurs, this is one of the number one issues. That what is holding you back from getting that 6, 7, 8 figure business, that you can see it in your mind and you know that you are destined for greatness, but yet somehow you just keep tripping yourself up, yet you have this Money DNA blueprint that I can see it in my mind. And if you take the time and energy and have the intention and stick with it over that 90-day period, I mean, that I think is a very realistic amount of time to spend to get some fantastic results. And can you imagine what your life would be like if you started today and you worked on this issue 90 days from now, how different your life could be? I just think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, 7 days from now, it could be different. Interestingly enough, when people go through the program, they tell me, actually just doing the self-assessment, so many breakthroughs happened that they noticed differences right away, and in terms of their peace and how powerful they felt with their business, and even being able to make sales calls more effectively. Like, it started to affect, their confidence in themselves right away. And that's my intention is every step of the way, the breakthrough makes you more powerful, more confident, more focused, and more prosperous. And that's what happens when you experience breakthroughs and you have a process to help make them stick, which is really what most people struggle with, is how do I make my breakthroughs stick? And I'll leave you with a thought. And that is that we have a choice in every moment for taking action that gets us to our goals, or taking action that keeps us where we are. And the only way to get real action that catapults us towards our goals is to learn how to do things in alignment. So there's 2 questions I always ask my clients every time you have a goal that you haven't achieved yet. Who do I need to be? What do I need to be willing to do differently? See, most people aren't willing to do what needs to be done to get new results. And then they're frustrated because they're stuck where they are. Be the person who's willing to do what it takes. And that might mean doing some mindset work and really mastering the inner game. The one thing I will say that has helped me the most with mastering this part of my life is no matter what problem comes my way, no matter what challenge I'm facing, no matter what crisis that comes out of the woodworks I wasn't planning on, because trust me, life will always bring us challenges. I now have tools that I can move through anything and continue to create miracles and achieve goals that I didn't even think were possible. So, and I know it works for my clients because they're doing the same thing. It's just a process you have to learn, and it's just creating new tools that you use when you over and over and over again when challenges arise. So I will leave you with that, Tammy.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, and I'm looking forward to connecting with those of you that were here today.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a great day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.